I think probably our biggest job is to go back to find out who we truly are in this lifetime and make ourselves the best version of that we can. And we can really change whatever's going wrong in your life right now. And we're all humans, we all have problems most of the time. You can work through these. It is possible, and I really want to be optimistic and give people hope that really anything is possible. You can change. And often it's the things that niggle us and give us problems and challenge us that end up opening the biggest doors to something that we could hardly have even imagined was possible.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sheri Jacobson, and this is TherapyLab, a podcast dedicated to therapy, mental health, and the art of wellbeing. In this episode, we are joined by best-selling author on creativity, healing, health, and success, Susie Pearl, to talk about her experience overcoming terminal brain cancer and her life's work in self-development. Well, again, warm welcome to the show, and I wonder if you can start off by telling us a little about yourself.
Sure thing. My name is Susie Pearl. I'm an author and I'm a cancer survivor. I had a very hectic life I had my own celebrity PR agency for many years in London. So I had a very busy, hectic life. And yeah, the usual thing, too much work, lots of stress, not enough downtime, eating on the go at my desk for years. And then one day I was told I was kept forgetting where I left my car and things like this. And my neighbor took me off to get a scan, and they found a humongous big brain tumor. And I was told I had 6 weeks to live. So I used all my tools in my toolbox to combat this concept, and I won. I had full remission, and here I am today, 3 years later.
Miraculous story, and I'd love to go into that a bit further, but first take us a little bit through your experiences growing up and then your subsequent career.
Sure. So I was a country girl, and I always was interested I always had this habit of meeting very interesting people. Ever since I was a little girl, I remember, it started off, my father brought home very interesting people who we'd find around the kitchen table. And I remember there was a big, very famous fight between Muhammad Ali and Joe Bugner, I think it was. And I remember being at the kitchen table one morning, it was after that, and Joe, who had fought Muhammad Ali, was in the room. And I remember thinking at the time, oh, this guy is inspirational, this guy is powerful. And I got me interested in psychology and the power, really, of the human. And so I ventured into psychology and mind techniques and things. And I ended up working with Paul McKenna, who's a hypnotist, and learning from him, and working with Dr. Richard Bandler, who's the creator of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which has become a very well-known field of psychology now and used in a lot of universities, and a lot of business people use it. So I trained really at a high level in NLP, which means neuro-linguistic programming, how we use our brains, linguistics, how we use our language, and programming in terms of our belief systems and how we experience the world. And I learned that the combination of these three things, the neurology, the language, and the programming that we carry, really dictates a lot of it, our experiences in life, our health in life, and how we code things and how we have experiences in this lifetime. So I became very interested in this, and I'm writing a book at the moment about this story, but later I used all the tools that I learned with these guys and women in my own recovery. And I found it incredibly useful.
So were you practicing at any point? Were you practicing NLP, or was it for your own learning?
Yeah, I mean, I used it in everyday life. I was a coach, so I used it a lot in my coaching work. but I think it's something you never unlearn. You know, I learned meditation with the David Lynch Foundation, TM meditation, when I was very stressed out at work. I was selling my company, I had a little baby, and I had a lot of things on my plate. So I found meditation then. So I used meditation as a sort of daily routine. And I used the wisdom I got through NLP every day also. So I had some good tools in my box that I could pull out and use when my health journey became excruciating. And they worked. So my approach to life is sort of a mixture of logical and spiritual. You know, I understand that we are, from my point of view, you know, beings with this gigantic life force and this gigantic ability for potential. You know, human potentiality is enormous. And in my book, I really did grasp this belief that we can do anything if we put our mind to it. We really can, including healing our own selves. And I'd seen and had witnessed a lot of healing in my work through NLP, through theta healing that I also learned, and through meditation. I saw from a scientific level how much we can help ourselves to de-stress, recover, and rejuvenate, really.
Quite an impressive toolbox, if I can say so, because NLP, meditation, theta. So you had all this in place before your diagnosis?
Yes.
You did, yeah. And can you take
randomly?
Yeah.
You go.
I was wondering if you can take us through the emotional impact of receiving a diagnosis. What was it like for you? And I will disclose that there's a personal agenda to this question, because I also had a breast cancer diagnosis, and I remember sort of the impact, but we all experience it very differently. How tough was that for you, and what were you going through?
Yeah, so I was taken to hospital by a friend because she was worried that I was acting oddly. I didn't actually think there was anything wrong with me. And I went to hospital, I had brain scans, and this tumor was discovered. But I was very calm, and I became very animated. I almost became hyper with the whole thing. And it came to me as an opportunity to really show the world that you can heal yourself. And as I was going into the scanner, I had my intuition, or whatever you want to call it, come in really strong and say, listen, you're going to be okay. You're going to have 3 scans. One is going to be terrible. The second one, the thing will have shrunk. And the third one, it will have gone away. There is no need to worry. This is my inner voice. Had the scan, came out. A couple of days later, the doctor said, we've got the news, it's not good. We're not going to dress this up. This is not good news. And I remained calm. Meanwhile, my family and all my loved ones were like, oh my gosh, you know, we're going to lose her and this is really bad. And I was quite buoyant and quite optimistic and bullish about it. And I wouldn't have anything negative talked about around my bed, or when doctors started saying, oh, you know, the prognosis is, I'd like, stop. I am going to recover and I don't want to hear anything. But because I was manic and a bit not myself, people kind of let me get on with this. But it was very difficult for the people around me because I refused to accept that I was going to die. And it turned out I was right to not accept that prognosis. And my son and I both were the only ones really who knew that I would get out alive. I worked very hard on my nutrition. I meditated and prayed every day. I had Reiki every day. I had hypnosis every day. My friends would be giving me this in the hospital. And I had headphones to get hypnotized from my friend who was in Ibiza, who gave me hypnosis every day. So I used all these tools very, very methodically and thoroughly. And I had this intention to get better. My son, I'm a single mom, and he needed me, and I didn't want to go anywhere. I had more to do in this life. I had more books to write. So I decided that I was going to get better. And I set my intentions. So I've learned how to set intentions so strong that my brain takes it on as a condition, and that's what's going to happen. It might sound far-fetched to people, but I do believe that when we learn how to run our brains really, really well, and are disciplined in the way that we can set intentions and things. I think we can do a lot with mind power. People get upset because I talk about healing cancer, and for many people it pushes their buttons and go, how can you say that, you can do this? Well, I did. I am allowed to say it because it really did happen. What I'm talking about is my personal experience of the C word. And I was able, thankfully, I didn't have a little bit of tiny thing. I had a massive thing, and it was in my brain, which controls all my body functions. So it was kind of the hardest kind, in a way, to deal with mentally. So for most people, it was something that was not possible. But I really had a belief that it was possible. Having watched people on stage and the many hundreds of seminars that I sat in, I didn't mention I was running the company of Dr. Richard Bandler, teaching NLP. I was the managing director of that company. So I sat in endless seminars teaching people the power of the mind, how to relax the mind, how to give the mind good instructions. And so I became a master at that, and I had to use it on myself. I had no idea I was going to have to use it on myself. So I did. And during that time, I wrote, before I got ill, I got commissioned to write a book, The Art of Creativity, this little thing here. So during my hospital visits, and I was in hospital for many weeks, I had my laptop and I wrote this. I channeled it, actually. It just sort of came to me. And I was highly creative during that period. It was like all the restrictions that we have. There's not enough time, there's not enough money, there's not enough, whatever it is we think we haven't got enough of. All of that disappeared. And I became very expansive in my approach to life. And I began to feel like I was part of this big universal field and this universal force, and that I was able to manage that and work with that. And I produced a book that has had rave reviews. David Lynch, the most famous film director, gave me a front cover quote and loves it and supported it. And I've had lots of amazing testimonials, and people have used the book and say they find it very useful. It's not about finding creativity in the sense of being able to draw or dance or something. It's about finding your inner stream, your inner flow, and connecting and getting rid of blocks, getting rid of fears, and really learning to be the most powerful, expressive version of yourself. It's a very practical book, and it's full of really good tools and techniques that I've used very successfully.
Gosh, Susie, it's just remarkable, absolutely incredible how through the power of your own mind, you've harnessed the energy and the ability to get through what you have and write a book at the same time. It's just mind-blowing. Can you tell us a little bit more about ways in which we can develop creativity in the way that you were mentioning?
Yeah. So the first chapter opens, I forget what I called it now. I think it was fears. Oh yeah, fears and blocks and how to overcome them. This is chapter 1. And I started and opened with that because as human beings, we show up and we all have some sort of, blocks, and no matter how much work we've done on ourselves, we do have inherent blocks and fears of some things, or blocks to, say, creativity, where you might feel, I'm busy, I've got a house to run, I've got a family to look after, I don't have the time. But I talk about finding a space really for the self-care aspect of life. And as we go through life, we realize it's more and more important that we fill up our own glass. And it's not until that we are looking after ourselves that then we can hope to give to all of our people around us and our family and the community around us. We can't give from an empty vessel. So I really am big on personal self-care. With that, I mean giving yourself time to do what you want, to relax, to not have to be frenetic. So we choose our own time frames and our routines and our habits. Even if you think you don't and you don't have a choice, you kind of do. You can organize that. You can find a little tiny window, a few minutes perhaps. You might have to reorganize things. You might have to speak to the family, sit them down and go, you know what? I am going to claim half an hour for me at these times during the week. and I want to ask you, are you okay to give me that? And they'll say yes. But you have to make it happen. You have to create some space and time, and maybe a little place to do your stuff. It might be that you like reading, you like writing. It might be you like meditating, or you don't like it yet, but you want to. And it might be you want some to just experience some of your own creativity. That is self-expression. I think illness happens when we squash our self-expression, when we squash our truth and really what we want to say. And we spend perhaps years could be in toxic relationships, abusive relationships, relationships where we don't feel we have permission to say what's really going on, and we might mask it or blame something else or someone else. But ultimately, we must take responsibility in our lives and show our children this as well. That as working, busy people in life, we have to make sure we look after ourselves. We exercise, we eat well, we think well, we give ourselves some relaxation time. That might be meditation, it might be yoga, it might be exercise, it might just be being quiet, reading a book. It doesn't matter. We have to have some time for ourselves to breathe, to reset, to think about what are we doing? Instead of rushing around. I spent years, I was the first one at the front of the queue, rushing around, creating businesses, running, being really busy the whole time. And when I look back now, I'm like, wow, no wonder you burnt out. No wonder you got exhausted. No wonder you got ill. There was no space for you. And I do think as human beings, we are designed, we should be living a life where we're happy, relaxed, having some fun, taking care of ourselves, having a good time. We're not meant to be working like crazy, buying loads of stuff, having to run to keep up. We shouldn't be doing this. We should be going back to the more natural nature's rhythm, eating from the land, eating locally, growing some stuff if we can, if we've got space, even if it's like a little window box with some herbs, great. Just doing little things that nurture us and give us some love back.
That's beautiful. And I'm very much on the self-care bandwagon, and I absolutely prioritize it. And I talk a lot to other very busy professionals and teachers as well, who they give out so much and leave so little space for themselves. For you, how much self-care time do you think is warranted? And for busy people who are looking after others, whether it's in their jobs or in their homes, how much time per day would they be able to claim as a ballpark?
Yeah, I think the extraordinary thing, I've coached thousands of people now, and what I've learned is no one's life is like anyone else's. Your situation is so unique. So I think it's very hard to be prescriptive. What I would say is that please find time in your own life in a way that works for you and works without all your commitments and responsibilities. You have to find some time just to take stock, to breathe, to be who you are, to find out how you feel. Some people are too busy to actually feel the feelings. This is madness. We get one hit at this. So take some time and just go for a walk in nature if you can. Breathe and think, how can I organize my life so I get some me time in it? Meditation, which is something I do every day. I do it twice a day for 20 minutes. For many people, that's way too much of an ask. I can't find time to do that in my day. I understand. But I think if you could compartmentalize a little, organize and set up some routines is really good. Have a routine. This book is about 7 powerful habits to unlock your creativity. Now, habits, what we do every day in our routine ends up being how we spend our lives. So my advice to everybody is get a routine that serves you and serves your community and serves your family and serves your life and allows you to make some money and all of these things. But get a routine that serves you. So you are doing the work that you need to do and that you would like to do. And you are having time to have some social life, plan some downtime, meditate and exercise every day. I think exercising every day, I'm not talking about, cardio, like full on, just moving around, moving and having a stretch, waking up. So my routine is in the morning I wake up. I know that first hour on waking, you're in the brainwave state of manifesting what you're thinking about, what you're feeling about. So the first hour, keep it calm. No arguments, no getting upset, or, if you have anxiety, I know a lot of people are facing anxiety. Tell yourself this first hour in your day, every day, is yours. Think about how you like to use it. Is it just sitting peacefully, quietly at home? Don't listen to the news, by the way. My top tip is switch the news off, particularly 2020 and 2021. No news. Because this will upset and cause fear and increase anxiety. There's nothing you need to know that will change things for the better that you're going to be watching through the tube. Don't. And we've grown up with this thing of you have to be informed. Ask that question. Is that helping you, or is it causing you fear and anxiety? If it's causing you fear and anxiety, then I highly recommend stop. Stop anything or being with anyone who's causing you to feel fearful, upset and anxious or angry. Do yourself a favor. Decide on your environment. Make good choices around the people you hang out with. Make really good choices about what you eat and what you drink and what you let in through your senses. This could be adverts, it could be scrolling on social media, it could be news, whatever. Be curator. Think of yourself as a curator of the finest art gallery. Let in the good things and keep out things that are not good, and encourage your kids to do the same. It's very, very important.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of Therapy Lab. If you'd like to transform your life with therapy, get 10% off your first session with any therapist on harleytherapy.com. Just use the code TherapyLab when you book your session. And with all of that, would you say that is the recipe to allow creativity to foster?
Yeah, I think creativity comes from being calm and allowing yourself the freedom to play and to just enjoy and have a think about the kind of things you'd like to do. Many people say to me, I would love to, I've always loved the idea of writing a book. I've never had the time, probably not good enough. Well, this is an example of something you could plan for. You could give yourself the time. Just give yourself half an hour a day saying, I'm going to write something. I'm going to start with a little blog, or I'm going to start with, a little story or something. And just begin. It doesn't have to be writing. It could be something completely different. Making a beautiful tapestry or doing some sewing. Just spend a short time, step by step, doing little steps. If you do this every day, it turns out into big steps, even within just a week. If you do little steps each day, that builds up over 7 days to be a huge amount. Over a month, massive. Over a year, life-changing. So don't think that, well, first of all, everyone is creative in my research. Everybody has creative potential. It often gets bashed out of us early on in life. So we have to think, well, what is my thing? What do I enjoy? And often it's your passion, and the things that you love doing are the things that you need to do more of. That's your thing. I love writing. I've always loved writing, except when I was at school, I was told I was a lousy writer and I would never amount to anything. Me and many of my friends, including Paul McKenna, who's the highest selling non-fiction author in the UK, was told at school, you'll never make it with writing. You're useless. I was told that. And I now have tons of books under my name or that I've written for other people. So don't believe the hype. Don't believe what you're told at school. You are creative. You have to find your thing. And how do you find it? Emotions lead you to where you need to be. If it makes you feel good, head in that direction. If it makes you feel bad, just check, what that's about and don't do that. Or check your fears and check what you're worried about. There are many great techniques for losing fears and anxiety, by the way. What we feed ourselves is very important. Drop coffee, drop alcohol, drop drugs or any substances. If you're feeling anxious, don't do that. Just feed yourself fresh, healthy, colourful food, for example. Mm-hmm. And take a note of your thoughts. Take a note of your mind chatter. Is your mind telling you off all the time? If so, change it. You're in charge.
And it's very difficult. I mean, in an ideal world, we would drop a lot of these things. Many people find it difficult to give up things that they're habitually used to. Any tips on,
Habits are hard to break, but if they're bad enough, you should break them. Smoking is a good example. Drinking too much is a good example. Being around toxic friends who bring you down and make you feel miserable is an example. All these things are probably habits that you might want to throw in the bin. Yes, it's hard. Is it impossible? No. Are you in charge of your life? Yes. Can you make changes in your life? And should you? Yes. We're transformational, multidimensional beings here. And it's really, we're here to do the best life we can. I think we all feel that, we just want to have the best life we can, whatever that means to us as individuals. So we have to look rigorously at what we do, day by day, week by week, month by month. And if we've got habits in there that are not serving us, do yourself a favor, be really ruthless, like you're decluttering your house. Declutter your habits, get rid of them, anything that doesn't serve you, and learn. Look online, there are lots of support groups for things. Let's take smoking and drinking as an example, because they're very prevalent in our Western society as issues. So there are great support groups from AA, the fellowships, and all sorts of community groups there to help you. Lean out. Make some new friends who are in the same boat. Get a buddy to help you. That's always really good. Someone who you've got to account yourself to. Did you have a drink today, friend? No, I didn't. Okay, good. Nor did I. So you're helping each other and supporting each other. These are really good ways of kicking things. Also, think about your motivations for stopping. What would I feel like if I stopped alcohol? My skin would clear. I'd be more coherent. I'd have more money in my pockets. Actually write down these things that you're going to benefit. My kids are going to see me as healthy and bright instead of all over the place, and I'll feel less anxiety. Feels like damn good reasons to me to give something up. But you kind of have to talk to yourself, into it and get really clear and make decisions and learn to once you make a decision, take the cigarettes or the booze or whatever it is out of the house. Don't have it there, because those times when you go, oh my God, I'm stressed, and you would reach for a drink, don't have it in the house, and then you're like, oh no, and you'll think of something else. So put in strategies that are going to help you.
I think a lot of it boils down, as you mentioned, to mindset and self-talk, so the narrative that goes on inside us. And I wonder if this for you has always been the case, something that you have been very mentally kind on yourself, or do you think it was your experience of illness that has really shifted it?
Well, before I got ill, I was training in mind technology, if you like. And NLP teaches you, for example, and many other the modalities I've mentioned, teaches you to become the witness of your thoughts, become aware of how you talk to yourself, and be aware that you can change that, because you're running the show. So if you've got a little voice inside you that goes, oh, that was stupid. Oh, you said the wrong thing. You can't do that. You're not equipped for that. You're not lucky enough for that, or whatever the blooming loop is that you play. You can play with that voice. You can make it a nicer, sweeter, gentler, softer voice that talks to you. And once you bring more awareness to that inner dialogue, you become in control. One useful way to think of it is you have a mixing desk, like a music producer, and you can lower the bass, turn up the treble, you can pull down the tonality to a sweeter, softer voice, more gentle. You can push up positive thoughts on this mixing desk and pretend you've got a mixing desk and use that to reorganize the sounds that come in through the mind chatter. That's really, really useful. Mm-hmm. And when I notice when I teach people how to change their inner dialogue, their life changes. their relationship with themselves, the world, their family, their partners, their lovers, everything changes. So I highly recommend spend some time working on that. Your life will change like that. It's not doesn't take long. It's fast. You'll attract different people. You no longer have abusive relationships because you're no longer telling yourself you're not worth anything more than that. Everything changes. I can't even begin to explain the shift that can happen just by shifting how you organize what goes on here.
And I was wondering if you've had any experience yourself of receiving coaching or therapy.
Yeah, sure.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of therapy. I think it's really useful because we don't come with a handbook. How on earth are we expected to know how to be a good human being and manage with all this stuff that goes on in life? I mean, wow, we get heaped a lot of things. I had in my life, I had my mum die of cancer. I had my father be killed in a situation. I lost a fiance who was killed, and I've had a lot of trauma. And many people have been in war situations and lost family and witnessed all sorts of things. Trauma is something that, as a human being, many people have. So I remember going when I was quite young, in my 20s, I went to the doctor and went, I just don't feel like I can cope. But my life's good. I was in PR. I was always learning how to present a good view to the world. And I did a good job with that with myself as well. I wasn't honest. And I said, yeah, but I have lost my boyfriend and my father did get killed. And I began to talk a bit about what had happened in my life. And the doctor was like, wow, you've been through a lot. I think you need to do some work on this. I went, no, I'm fine, actually. I'm just a bit anxious at the moment, but I'm not sure why. He said, come on, I think you need to do some work on this. And I was introduced to the world of therapy through my doctor, because even then I didn't want to take, that he wanted to give me some, antidepressants or whatever. And I knew then I didn't want to take pharmaceuticals. I knew that. I wanted to do it a different way. And I didn't really have any tools or know how to get tools at that point or know who to talk to about it, but I knew I didn't want a pill. So I had some therapy to begin with, and I enjoyed it. I sat down and I talked for the first time about real stuff that was happening and how I was feeling. I'd never done it before. I mean, we're not taught how to do this emotional intelligence at school. We're given very few tools in this modern world growing up. I had a fantastic education and a lousy one on an emotional level. I didn't know how to have relationships. I didn't know how to talk about feelings, all of these things. So therapy allowed me to do that. And then I fell into finding out about hypnosis that I've been using for years. I find it fascinating. All these other modalities and therapies that I have used. I've been to a lot of seminars. I think some of us go through a period of, I want to be in development. I want to be in working on myself. And I've done that for a long, long time. So I'm enjoying now sharing some of my knowledge with others to help them. Because I've kind of had enough now of learning. I'm about sharing information now. And I've got this incredible story which shows to anyone who might doubt me that I can do it and that I'm authentic. So, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to cure myself, get rid of brain cancer as I did so dramatically. So I've now got, with that story, I've now got huge credibility in this world of personal transformation and change and healing and the potential of healing that we have. So people listen now really clearly to what I say, and I'm now talking about stuff that I've spent 25 years learning about. I'm in the lovely position now of being able to share and help. And we're in this time right now where there's a lot of anxiety post 2020, anxiety, overwhelm, like what? Mental anguish, being locked down, all of the things you shouldn't do to human beings that we're being pushed up against. Income, all sorts, relationships, everything is in this flux, and the world seems to be in a very flux place. It's extremely demanding for many, many people going through anxiety and trauma and all sorts of issues. So I think it couldn't be a better time to put on the table the conversation about how do we feel better? How do we get better? how do we rise up above this and reach out and put our head up so that we can actually enjoy life. It seems to me the most important conversation that we can have.
I absolutely agree with you there. The spirituality piece that you mentioned before, how does that interweave? Is it integrated? Is it very much a part of it?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I think the word spirituality is often very misunderstood. My understanding of spirituality is this: it is the connection we have with the world out there as a human in a body with skin and a bag of bones and a body. There is something about our energy and our spirit inside ourselves that's beyond the bits of my hair and my skin and everything. There is this energetic aspect to human beings. And for me, spirituality is about leaning into the unseen, leaning into this big life force that exists. You know, there's a very magical aspect to life in many, many ways. And I enjoy that, unlocking that magical box, which is not very tangible, but it's invisible, but it's very, very interesting. So for me, I enjoy spirituality. When I meditate, I feel I really connect with this higher force. I get a lot of great wisdom, great ideas and information about what's going on in my life. I get access to when I let my mind relax. So having had years of being in hypnosis, in trance, doing Reiki healing on the body, which is, you know, sort of very soft, energetic healing practice from 5,000 years ago. Looking at Ayurveda techniques of healing as well, and all of these sorts of things that aren't crunchy, scientific, number-driven, but more wisdom-driven, ancient wisdom-driven, let's call it, appeals to me. You know, I love it. I've always loved that. And for me, life is much more magical than the everyday material world. And I think probably as a world, we're moving into less interested in the material things of logos and brand. I want the best brand and all of this stuff. It's more about experiencing life, going back to basics, feeling love, knowing where your heart is, knowing how to open your heart, not being afraid to do that, and becoming a more aware spiritual human being than we have in the past, perhaps. And certainly being very, very busy and having a big job and all of these and kids and everything, it can take us away from remembering who we are. And I think probably our biggest job is to go back to find out who we truly are in this lifetime and make ourselves the best version of that we can. And we can really change whatever's going wrong in your life right now. And we're all humans, we all have problems most of the time. You can work through these. It is possible, you know, and I really want to be optimistic and give people hope that really anything is possible. You can change. And often it's the things that niggle us and give us problems and challenge us that end up opening the biggest doors to something that we could hardly have even imagined was possible. I'll give you a good example is my brain cancer. People go, oh, that must have been terrible. And my honest answer, I'm careful who I say this to because people can take it the wrong way. It was a blessing. It was one of the greatest things that I have ever done. Along with having my son and bringing him up to be a beautiful human being, is healing from that has given me a platform internationally to talk about healing, which I am very privileged and grateful and love. And I can pump out amazing books about it. So I feel like it's one of the greatest things. And at the time, people said, oh my gosh, what a challenge. This is terrible. You're going through this. I never felt it was terrible. I was never in pain. I was never in that much fear. I never minded about dying either. You know, that if people say you might die, I'm like, yeah, that's okay too. Because of my spiritual understanding, I didn't mind that. If I left my body, I did leave my body one day. I did actually die one day and went out of my body and I came back. I chose, I was given a choice and I came back in. So I had that feeling of what it feels like when you pass and when you come back. And that is really powerful. because when you're not afraid of dying, there's really nothing else to fear except fear itself. And I don't have any fears now. I'm not worried about anything. You know, I have the usual things everyone else have. You know, I'd like to have I'd like to have various things, but ultimately I'm not worried. I'm not fearing. And I'm learning to flip around, looking at life and realizing what we have got. Appreciation, gratitude for what we have got. And we have got a lot. And not worrying about the things we don't have that we think we might want. It's really, when push comes to shove, we're here for a very, very short time. Let's enjoy it.
Absolutely remarkable. I also felt that my cancer experience was a blessing. I'm also selective about who I share that with, because not everyone sees it put from that perspective. Definitely life-changing. Of course, I wasn't given a terminal diagnosis at the time. Mine was fairly early stage and treatable. But what an attitude and way that you've dealt with it. Absolutely incredible. And now using your voice as a platform to help others, your work with in your writing and coaching. Inspiring, so much to for me myself to percolate, and I'm sure our audience as well. Would you be able to share what your hopes are and plans are for the next little while?
Yeah, sure. I'm currently writing a book called I Lost My Mind in Ibiza, which is the story of what happened and what came out of it and what I've learned and what it was like to die and come back. It was a proper near-death, it was an actual death experience that I had. So it was spectacular to come back in. And I came back in with a different operating system, which means I see the world very differently now. Without the shackles of the old way of thinking, constriction and thinking that life is what you see right in front of you. I have a much more expansive view now. So I'm writing that book at the moment, and I'm hoping that will be a fantastic book for people to feel inspired and feel optimistic about. And I'm writing books and I'm doing a lot of podcasts, and I just want to keep writing and sharing and gathering wisdom and having a nice time. You know, I'm doing my work still. I'm doing a lot of meditation and healings, and I coach a lot of people, and I do, all the things, sound healing, sound baths, all of these things, using sound to heal and all of these things. And I just hope I become better at it and have more to share with people and to help people. I think I've been through this for a reason, to share and to inspire others of the fact that we can live very good, optimistic, powerful and healthy lives regardless of where we are right now. It doesn't matter what your situation is. If you feel poor, without friends, without family, without relationships, everything can change like that. So I'm hoping to be able to share that and the wisdom I've learned. That's my intention.
Well, I've certainly been inspired in this short period of time of knowing you and speaking to you. So thank you for that. Where can people reach you and access your material?
Yeah, sure. It's all on my website, which is susiepearl.com. There you'll find some great podcasts with people like David Lynch. I've interviewed Russell Brand, Paul McCartney, David, all these amazing people. So there's a lot of lovely podcasts to listen to, which are all on the theme of being extraordinary and how to deal with challenges. A lot of writing and blogs there, and access to my books. You can get my books there, and I would encourage people to have a look at my first book, which is called Instructions for Happiness and Success. It's the best thing I've ever written. I wrote it about 9 years ago, way early, before anyone was really talking about frequencies and vibration and how mind technology works. And I've written a very deep information in a very simple way, and that's downloadable on my website, for example. And everything will be there about events I'm doing and podcasts I'm doing. So just keep tapping into my website and let me know. Keep in touch. And I'm on Instagram. I'm Susie Pearl X. and I do Twitter a little bit, but I'm mainly Instagram and my site. So I love it when people get in touch. They've read my book, let me know how you got on, what you felt, what changes you got. And I love all that. So I love people to just get in touch.
Wonderful. Susie, thank you so much for joining us today. Wishing you well in Ibiza and hope to see you in London soon in the UK.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. Thank you, Sheri.
Thanks for listening to Therapy Lab. Do hit subscribe to keep up to date with new episodes. To find private, affordable therapy from around the world, visit harleytherapy.com today to transform your life. We'll see you next time.